Hey, Jeremy Cook here, and I wanted to take a look at my fulfillment setup for my JC Pro Macro 2 keyboard. It's been a fun project, but it's been a lot of work. It's been close to 200 orders that I have to fulfill, and as such, I've had to set up a kind of manufacturing cell for the whole thing. Good thing is I kind of know what I'm doing on this. I did work in manufacturing for about 10 years, so I think a lot of those concepts kind of wore off on me. This is kind of my main setup here, and what I have here is I've got my different pick bins, so I can pick out of here and put it in, kind of pick in place as far as what kind of products I want. So kind of the way I've got it organized is I've got my options on the left. I've got a mistake I made on this, so I'll tell you about that later, but I've got my options on the left, enhanced knob, standard knob, USB cable, and then I've got my plate that I can put on there, and then these OLED screens. And then over here I've got my components kit. So I've got my components kit stuff. So I've got the packing material, the bags. I've got some, this is cut out in such a way that it can kind of secure the sockets, which is pretty cool. And then I've got the buttons, the knobs, the encoders, the header, bumpers, standoffs, screws, and more screws. Actually, I need to change that to say, I need to change this to say 3 instead of 4, but anyway, I guess I can do that later. So basically what I can do on these kits, put it in there, and that can be kind of my final assembly. So for the final assembly, I've got to take one main board, one Pro Micro, bottom board, key switches, key caps, and then the components kit. So when I'm doing my final assembly for the kit, I can just say, okay, I need one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these. It's very easy, but there's a lot of work that goes into it in the before time. One mistake I was talking about, I'm picking these up, pick, and that's really easy. But the problem is after that, I've got my options. So it's like, okay, I need an option to get a key switch plate, got that or that, OLED screen, the micro USB cable, or an enhanced key switch or enhanced encoder knob. But the problem is these aren't actually options. It's got a standard knob and an enhanced encoder knob, so I've got to choose one of these. So if I was doing this again, maybe I wouldn't even include one of these. I just have this as an option, not have a standard knob, just because they're a little bit hard to get off, and also just the fact that you get into a rhythm here, pick, and then come back here and it's like, oh, wait a second, I've got to get this or this. Actually, I've had one person say that they didn't get a knob, so I had to send them something for that. Little mistake, I'm not too bad after, fulfilling, I think 80 something orders. I'm right at the halfway point now. So if that's the only one I get that says there's something wrong with it, I think I'm doing pretty well. Obviously I try to make no errors, but I'm only human, of course. So that's kind of the setup here. And behind this setup, kind of running, I guess, letting me do this is the fact that I made this out of 2020 aluminum extrusion. So this is 2040 because it's 20 this side, 20 millimeters by 40 millimeters, kind of the upright that supports everything. Got a angle piece here that kind of supports that a little bit. Actually based that on my, you can see there, angle support on my bike rack that I did in another video. I'll put a link up to that. This top shelf allows me to put my work in progress over there. Got that nicely labeled. Always good to label anything when you're manufacturing stuff because, well, even if it's just you might forget what something is, and good to label, of course, although obviously I've got to change this label around since it's 3. But the cool thing is when I was doing this, I didn't exactly know how I wanted all the bins to be. I had maybe some idea, but I made them different colors. So that's kind of helps you visually identify different things. And I actually made these dividers that I'll try to put a link up to that where you can download them that, kind of divide it out, let me have some more space. But the thing that I think is worked out really well with this, these Akro bins, I've got this kind of like a French cleat style thing on here. Let's see if you can see it. Well, it's kind of hard to see, but I'll go around the back of that. These French cleat style things on the back, get a little more light there. Basically, it allows you to take something out like that, put it in a different section, and that's been extremely helpful. So that allows you to kind of rearrange things. And in fact, if I made a different thing, if I stopped making this, made something else in the future, I could rearrange it for that. I think maybe in the future, hopefully I'll produce these JC Pro Macro 2 devices for a while. But if I was to change over to something else, I could change this out, and maybe even I could have like a backside. I could have some other bins on the backside, so it could be fulfilling one type on one side and one type on the other. I don't know. I just think this whole arrangement, the aluminum extrusion in general is very helpful. And I was glad I had some of it around. I mean, I got this for my bikes, or my family's bikes, I guess. And, you know, I ordered a lot more extra. And once I was doing this fulfillment, I said, well, I've got this lying around and I can use it. And if I ever needed to convert it to something else in the future, I've got that. This rack on the top, that's nice because you can put a computer or your work in progress there, obviously. And coming around to the front again. Oh, another thing, I don't really like to leave my laser running by itself for too long. So when I'm doing stuff here, I can have my laser cutting out stuff. Also can have my 3D printer going if I need to have that going. You know, I mentioned about the little parts kits. One thing about this is I actually include a few more screws than needed, you know, depending on what option you want here. Like, you don't necessarily need long screws if you don't get the key switch plate, but I include those anyway along with the headers because I figure it's just easier to have one bag here rather than, you know, several bags you have to choose from. It's, you know, it's like maybe a few cents extra in parts here, and I figure people can use them possibly, and probably eliminates a lot of errors. So I'd say that's probably a good thing, just to try to kind of keep it simple, as few parts as possible. You know, that's kind of what I do. That's how I put my kits together. As far as the assemblies, now I think this was a really good thing too. I made some jigs for this, including this one that I can use to solder on. Let's see. Basically, you just put it. Well, you know, you could say an unassembled part. Basically, you have it like this. Everything's hooked up there. Puts it all in place. You can make it really easy to solder on. So that's pretty nice. And then for the Pro micro boards themselves, you've got this, so that can line up all the headers and stuff. So that makes it a lot easier to keep things together. You can use a breadboard as a jig, but I personally don't really like that because I feel like it just kind of, when you try to put it in or out, sometimes it can slide these plastic pieces on or off. So that's kind of my setup. This jig actually took quite a bit of work to put together. Also, this is just an EC11 jig, so you know, if you ever need to do that by itself, it works, but not really ideal. But I am kind of proud of this. It did take quite a while to get figured out. But yeah, that's kind of my fulfillment setup. I've got some more, you know, somewhere else that I put this stuff together, but yeah, for shipment and programming and stuff, but that's kind of the basics of it. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll go ahead and put some time lapses on here so you could kind of see me working in action, and you know, maybe I'll have a little bit more on this later. So thanks for watching.